Hello everyone, my name is Dragon Fruit, and today I am playing Lookouts. Apparently it is a visual novel about some gay trans cowboys, and I promise I will not play that many visual novels on this channel. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I'll make this a video or not, but just the concept of this I really liked. Oh, and they're furries, so you know, that made me like it even more. I was sort of raised in Texas, so I feel like I can do a pretty decent country accent, so I will be annoying you all with this entire video. Or videos. I feel like this will probably take a while. So, yeah. So, you sure we can trust this friend of yours, Info? It'll be a crying shame if you're wrong about this. This guy is someone to ride a river with. He'd never sell me bunk information. That town has struck gold. That's what he heard. Heard? He just heard about it? What kind of source is that? We can't go off of rumors, you nutcase. But think about it. We'll be living like English kings if we take over a supply like that. What else are we gonna do? The last job was a bust. We got nothing left. Alright. We've had some bad luck and are running low on supplies. We'll take that town by hook or by crook, and if they don't have that gold, we can take 'em for what they do have at skedaddle. The lookout'll go early in the morning and see what we're up against, but I reckon we can bulldoze this burg and have some fun either way. I don't know half of these words. Make sure to bring us back some juicy details, won't you, tomboy? He firmly slaps you on the back. Laughter fills the camp around the roaring fire. Sounds like you'll be riding at sunup to check the town out. You feel it's best to get some sleep. Yeah, there's some really cute graphics back here. The desert is an orange haze. Scorched sands whip up against your horse's legs, the sun hot against your back as you ride towards the town. There's not much to be done while riding. The desert is lonely, harsh, bare. Only thing to do is think. This guy is so cute. Pet, 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 pet. I love his scars. This is awesome. You don't like being alone with your thoughts so often, for so long. But you always are alone as a lookout, alone being the odd stick of the gang. No one talks to you unless they need something. You daydream as you ride, like usual. Flights of fancy, of settling down somewhere. You're tied to Curly Wolf and his gang, though. Is it so much to ask to be able to live in peace? To not have to fight for survival, always on the run? Maybe that's what your life will always be like, gang or not. A hunted outcast. They could have sent you off with some playing cards at the very least. You come to an outcropping near a cliff. Tying up your horse, you approach the edge and see the town come into view. A nice frontier town, small but clearly bustling with people. White painted signs on the wooden buildings glint and bloom in the midday sun. You can't see much else from way up here, and turn to go get your binoculars. Also, sorry if I stutter a lot, I'm kind of horrible at reading out loud. But, I'm trying. You open your saddlebag and pull the metal binoculars out, brushing it against your poncho to dust off the lenses. Turning back to walk to the edge, a figure suddenly rounds the corner of the large rock you've decided to set up camp under. Ah! Gah! Out of instinct, your hand snaps your holstered gun and pulls it, trained squarely at the head of this new person. The bird, who seemingly came from nowhere, looks at you, clearly just as surprised and out of sorts from your own presence. He shifts backwards, eyeing your hand on your gun. The air feels very still all of a sudden, and given you have the upper hand, you take a moment to look at who you just crossed paths with. He's definitely an outlaw, like yourself, a rugged beak shining in the sun centers a face you admittedly find charming. His face and arms are marked with scars, and a large sawn-off shotgun hangs in his holster. Since he's a bird, you know to be wary, just like he'll know to be worried of a canid like yourself. Oops. Howdy there. What's your name, partner? Joseph. They have the same voice. Joseph. And what are you doing all the way out here, Joseph? You seem a dreadful long way away from where one might think you should be. I could ask you the same question. You stare him dead in the eye. He's pretty calm for someone having a gun pointed at his head, but you can see some of his feathers quivering. You were trying to sneak up on me, Joseph? Rob me blind where no one else can see? I bet you thought a fellow missing an arm would be easy. Oh, I didn't even realize he was missing an arm. Interesting. No, sir. I had no idea you were here till I walked around this here rock. He pats the red stone beside him as if to make a point. Sir, what in the Sam Hill? You lower your gun, like your shoulder joint just gave out, and let it hang there. In all my years, no stranger has ever called me sir. Well, color me surprised, fella. You'd have to be blind or full as a tick to not see an upstanding young gentleman. All right. Now you're just licking my boots. The hawk puts a hand to his chest. God is my witness, I ain't lying to you. You holster your gun and snort a small laugh. May strike you down as penance, then. What are you doing out here? Picking flowers? The smile drops from his face. He stops short and swallows, like he can't bear to say the next words. I'm part of the Black Vulture gang. I'm gonna look out here to survey this here burg. That's very forward of you, considering I just had a gun pointed your way. I'm part of the Curly Wolf gang. I'll be damned. You boys have been all over the West. What brings you right here? Much the same as you, I would imagine. Rumors of gold. You'd have it just right. Well, I can imagine what my boss might want me to do. Coming across someone who's sticking their beak in our business. Joseph tenses up, feathers ruffled. He understands full well what you mean, conflicting interests and all. But he's not here. It would be a real waste of a good bullet to use it on you. Is that an insult, or are you trying to make a mash on me? The small jibe is enough to make you stop talking and search for the binoculars you threw when you pulled your gun, turning your face away to hide the blood rushing to your cheeks under your dark fur. You dust the binoculars off and walk over to where Joseph is standing, his eyes keenly trained on the town. You need no binoculars then, huh? No, sir. These eyes can see all the faces of those people down there, no problem. Sir, again. Maybe it's just a habit of his to call people that. Say, why do you keep calling me sir? I ain't your boss. You just that much of a polite stuck-up? Costs nothing to be kind on the trail, I've found. What do most call you then? Ah. You thought this might come up, of course. You're surprised it took this long for him to ask about who you are, what you are. Most would say tomboy, I think, or other things I wouldn't repeat in such polite company. And what would you call yourself? The question takes you by surprise, something else no one's ever asked you. I'd call myself a man. Huh, is that so? He's gonna think you're a nut now, you just know it. You'd better be getting on your horse right now and riding back than staying another second round this stranger. How funny. I guess we're in the same boat if I'm picking up what you're putting down. Might say that the guys at the camp don't use shove the queer to talk about money. You nod at him, unsure whether to laugh or not. Neither of you seem sure what to say now. Instead, you hold the binoculars to the bridge of your nose and investigate the town, looking down into the valley. After a spell of looking at nothing in particular in silence, you take the binoculars away from your face again, readjusting to the late morning light. You glance at Joseph's keenly trained eyes, then back to the town. You can't help but stare at the clump of a couple dozen or so buildings. You couldn't help but think about the real people's lives going on down there every day. Deaths and celebrations, harvests, prayers. How you were gonna hurt him. How you were both gonna hurt him. I don't get it. Joseph's voice snaps you out of your staring. Why would Black Vulture want to come here? There's nothing here. No mines in use, no banks, and they sure as hell ain't rich by the look of things. Maybe they struck a new vein. This is a miner's town after all. But you're right. Something strange is going on. Well, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1, right? You want to work together? You watch my back, I'll watch yours. Deal? A huge feathered hand shoots out at you in expectation. You look at his face, and you both lock eyes for a moment. You're not sure what, but there's something in his eyes that makes you feel seen, being looked at rather than through. Aw. I like them. They're so cute. Also, I immediately very relatable for me. You gently grab his hand, and a second winged hand clasps on and gives your whole arm a big shake. Whoa, careful there. Don't need to lose each other. Lose it. What? Don't need to lose another. Oh, I see. He lets go and puts his hand on his hips, smiling at you. Hey, come on now. Let's get on down there. He walks past you and heads towards a winding rocky pathway down the side of the valley cliff. You take a moment to look at the town again, walking along a cliff edge to catch up with Joseph, wondering if he could see how red your face had been under your black fur. I don't think that's how that works. Can dogs blush? Clambering down the cliff face, the shade of the valley is a welcome change after your long ride in the sun. The climb down is quiet, only a few grunts and gripes, a couple of voices of concern from Joseph you quickly waved off. You both approach a wooden sign you spotted a little ways off, swaying in the desert wind. It looked relatively new, a board hanging on 2 chains, a word carved into the wood. Can you read it? It was only a single word, but you couldn't piece together quite how to say it. No. Ah, well, I'm sure someone will tell us. You notice some familiar smells drift on the wind as a gust blows through the town past you. Tobacco smoke, whiskey, stewing meat from somewhere. It reminded you of the camp. Why am I already losing my voice? Walking more into the town, you get a better look at the buildings that were just dots up on the cliff. There was a saloon, at least, seemingly one of the older buildings in the town, as well as what you guessed was a sheriff's building, although the sign outside looked to be busted up. Everything else you could see from here seemed to be houses and whatnot. Leftovers clearly made by miners, not built to be sturdy or last long, but had to be fixed up to be livable for folks. Clearly the people here like this place, and if they get a whiff of why you're both here. Alright, partner. I say, if we get given any evil eyes, we hightail it out of here. Ain't worth getting shot in a place like this. Sure thing. We got each other's backs, remember? You nod at him. We'd best get talking to people. Daylight's burning. Oh, here comes someone now. Sure enough, you see a short figure approaching you from the sheriff's office. You hear the pound of a cane on the dirt as they limp towards you with a vigor in their step. When they get closer, the haze of the desert heat obscures them less. You see a smartly dressed old lizard standing before you both. Cane in one hand and a metal flask in the other. Howdy, fellas. I'm Sheriff. Welcome to Clemency. A pleasure to meet you, Sheriff. He gave the lizard an expectant look, waiting for a name. My name is Sheriff. Just Sheriff. That's all you need. And what do you call yourselves? My name's Joseph, and my associate here is... He gestured toward you and turned to look at you, a subtle panic running across his eyes. You realize that he just realized you never gave your name. What is your name? Ooh. I'll just put Dragon. I feel like putting Toby is too personal, to be honest. Dragon. Hey! I'm Dragon. Pleasure to meet you. He said this while looking at Joseph, resisting the urge to wink at him before looking back to the sheriff. So what brings you two in our fine town? We're just riding through. Need a rest stop. Is there a problem with that? Joseph nudges you with his elbow a bit. Glancing at his eyes, you can tell he's saying, "Don't be so rude." No, not at all. I'm just the closest thing we have to a welcome committee, and it's always nice to see some new faces all the way out here. How long will you be staying? The saloon has some fine rooms if you'd like to stay the night. That's an awful kind offer, Sheriff, but we'll be gone before nightfall. At least that's the idea. Maybe we'll like this town so much we stay. Joseph and Sheriff both chuckle, and Sheriff sighs. Well, you boys let me know if you need anything else. I'll be at home most likely. Will do. Yep. With the tip of the hat, Sheriff turned and started walking back to the building at the end of the road. With the lizard out of earshot, Joseph turns to you. So, partner, what's our plan? You look around the town for a moment, surveying the handful of people walking about, talking to each other around their houses, taking in the warm wind blowing past you with a deep breath. We get talking to folks. And what? They just run their mouth about all the gold they found? No, but I reckon a town this size, if they've struck something, there will be a buzz about it. We ask them about themselves, about the town. Someone will spill sooner or later. All right then. Well, I've got a pretty good peep on the place on the way down. We got a saloon just here, we got some sort of town hall over on the far side, and we got the sheriff's station at the end of the road by the looks. Where to? Let's go to the saloon. That seems fun. Let's check out the saloon. I reckon if anyone knows anything about these rumors, it'll be there. Alrighty then. Walking through the doors of the saloon, you're hit with the very familiar smell of tobacco and alcohol hanging in the air. A couple patrons drink and talk quietly in the corner, not taking any notice of you two. You see a dozen or so tables, and looking up, there's a second floor with the rooms Sheriff mentioned. Howdy there. Your attention is grabbed by an excitable and friendly voice coming from a short bird standing behind the bar, who is now grabbing a couple glasses. My name's Bartholomew. What can I get you, fellas? He started wiping the glass expectantly, glancing between you both as you walked the few steps from the door to stand at the bar. I'll get a beer. All right. And you? I'll, have what he's having. Yep, coming right up. He set the mugs down and disappeared through a door behind the bar into a back room. I don't have any money on me, Joseph. Don't worry about that. It's on me. He pat you on the back with a big wing a couple times and withdrew his hand when he saw you wince a little. Oh, sorry. Was I too hard? No, you're fine. You hadn't winced from pain, you just weren't used to someone touching you, like that at least, friendly-like. Bartholomew reappeared with 2 glass bottles, tipping them into the mugs with satisfying glugs before taking a couple coins from Joseph. Thank you kindly. You both take a sip. Joseph seems to enjoy it, but you find it a bit more bitter. You try not to pull a face. Not like it? That's not his voice. You smile weakly. Not my thing. Noted. He winks at you, and you feel your cheeks redden a little. You both keep drinking while the bartender busies himself behind the bar. The saloon is quiet, and a piano sits gathering dust in the corner, seemingly untouched for many moons. Wind whistles through a gap in the saloon doors, carrying the sound of desert insects. Slow day, huh? You look up from your drink and see he's looking at the bartender, who doesn't seem to have taken any notice. He glances at you both and realizes rather sheepishly he was being talked to. Oh, beg your pardon? Slow day? Nah, this is about the usual. Gets a lot more lively in the evenings when the sun goes down. Everyone comes here to take a load off. So you know everyone here pretty well then. Well, of course. Not exactly a big town. We're a pretty tight-knit lot here. Why is that? This is a mining town, right? These places usually explode with people. Well, I can't say I know much. He looks oddly unsettled by your question. How often you lived here for? He perks up again from whatever you said that troubled him, the brightness returning to his voice. Oh, well, I'd say somewhere close to 8 years. That's a darn long time. Yeah, I suppose it is. What made you stay? Never mind staying. How did you even find this place? I've never even heard of it till we stumbled past. Bartholomew's cheery smile dropped a little, morphing into something more wistful, like the face of someone looking at an old, now bittersweet photograph. You boys ask a lot of questions, don't you? You and Joseph look at each other for a moment, expecting the other to say something, but nothing comes out. I don't mind. To give it a fair shake of this town ain't the most exciting. This town ain't okay. It's nice to talk to some new ears that ain't tired of my squawking already. He gives a little half-hearted chuckle. Well, I found this place because I heard about there being gold. Like a lot of folks, I was fixing to get my fill. You and Joseph both lean in a little at the mention of gold. My fiancé was running away from home, and I was going with him. We thought we'd go out west and make our fortune. Looking back on it, I get why so many people called us foolish. I might have been one of them if it were the other way around. But we had our hearts set on it. We followed the road by wagon. It was damn tough. Hellish, even. Thank our lucky stars, we made it here to Clemency on a wing and a prayer. That was when we really felt like we were foolish. When we got here, talking about gold, we almost got ran out of town. I don't know the details, but there was a lot of trouble here when miners ran this place. No one's been digging for decades now, but word hadn't traveled far enough it seems, to let us know at the time. At first, Sheriff told us to leave. Didn't want no more of our kind causing trouble. But when Sheriff saw how stuck we were, how we had nowhere else to go, how rough the journey had been on us, Sheriff's nothing if not kind. Could see we weren't troublemakers, just wanted a better life somewhere. Okay, I'm back. I had to go get some tea because my throat is really starting to hurt now. He shrugged, like there was nothing more to it. With the town's help, we gussied up this here saloon into something I could run, and the rest is history. I'm glad you all found something here. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Clemency may be small, but something real special if you ask me. So there's no gold here. Bartholomew leaned back against the shelves behind him, crossing his arms. Not as far as I know. The mines are around here somewhere, but I've never seen them. This hasn't been a mining town for a long time, and folks here don't think of it as one. You'd do well to keep that in mind. He tapped the side of his beak as if to say, if you cast my drift. Even so, I would be interested in the history of this town. Afraid that well runs dry here. But there's others who have been here far longer than I have. You can always talk to the sheriff if you haven't yet. Sheriff made this place what it is today. Want to know something? That's the lizard to talk to. Thank you, Bartholomew. No problem. It's my pleasure. Bartholomew stood up from his lean and stretched his back and arms a little. Slinging his cloth over his shoulder, he picked up a small clinking and rattling box before walking through to the back room. Daylight's burning. I think we best be going. Agreed. I keep accidentally doing Bartholomew's voice for him. You stood at the bar and waited a moment while Joseph downed his beer, and then yours too. Hope you can hold that. Aw, please. How little you must think of me. Only a couple beers. You should have seen me at the Long Branch and Dodge. Drank the entire gang under the table. You can't help but smile at his cockiness, unsure whether to believe him. You briefly think back on the times the gang had gone to bars. You were always told to stay outside, don't wander off. A dog on a leash waiting for master to come back. Staring into the lamplit streets and hearing the braying crowds all around you, drunken strangers and enjoying each other's company as much as their liquor. At first they told you it was dangerous for you to stray too far. Then they started telling you to stay outside after you've beaten the teeth out of a guy in an alley who you knew had been staring at you. Couldn't have you causing them needless trouble. Off so soon? Bartholomew reemerged into the bar, looking expectantly. Well, don't be a stranger, strangers. You're welcome to come back later when the bar is more lively. My husband would love to meet you both. The casual lilt of his words caught you off guard, and you think you see Joseph stumble a little. Failing to get any words out, he just tips his hat, and you both leave the saloon, stepping back into the dust and dry desert heat. Where to? Well, he talked about the sheriff, so I assume we'll go to the sheriff's office. Sheriff should know something, surely. Yes, sir. I doubt we're the only ones who come looky-looing before. And Sheriff did say to come find him if we needed anything. You walked the same direction you saw the sheriff leave. Down toward the closest edge of the town, through what might be considered the main street where this town bigger. What? Sheriff's office is modest, one of the smaller buildings in town, a short square stone block with barred windows and a lopsided wooded door. As you get close to the squat building, Joseph slows down and raises his arm to your chest to slow you down as well. Okay, partner, what's the plan here? You and I both know a sheriff is gonna be the most paranoid, owl-headed son of a gun in this burg. We can't go waltzing in there shooting our mouths off at about just anything. Yeah, you're right. All we really need to know is if sheriff is gonna put up a fight. Somehow I feel like they're not your usual lawman. You look around thinking for a bit, two halves of a tattered sign swing in the wind on clattering chains in front of the building. It seems it had said sheriff once, and the edges had the remnants of bullet holes, shattered and charred wood. I say we tell him what's really happening. To call Joseph's face incredulous at that moment would have been an understatement. He scoffed a little out of curiosity, rubbing his chin with a feathered hand and trying to think of what you can mean. What are you saying? We admit why we're here? Acknowledge the corn? Sort of. I think we can tell Sheriff that there's outlaws coming, and we're worried about, town. That's a dangerous play. Look, Sheriff is gonna have a good idea why we're snooping around here if we don't have a simple, honest reason to throw off the scent. It's easier to lie when there's some truth to it. Joseph rubbed his chin again and sighed. I think so too, but I still can't help to feel jumpy walking into the lion's den. You knew what he meant. For people like you, a sheriff's office was never where you wanted to wind up. Walking into the office together, Joseph ducks to clear the doorway. How tall is he? You find the inside to be much more well kept than the outside, which had clearly seen some wear and tear in its time. Sunlight and dust in equal measures came in through the windows. Landing upon the desk of Sheriff, who was currently rapidly filling a piece of paper with pencil in hand. After you close the door behind you, you both wait for a few seconds for Sheriff to notice you. Before you can politely knock on the closed door for attention, Sheriff raises a finger on a pencil-holding hand to ask for a moment's more waiting. This was followed by hastily scribbling onto the end of the piece of paper before the pencil was thrown onto the desk with little regard. Two keen eyes landed on you and Joseph. Howdy there, fellas. Thought I might be seeing you again. Howdy there, Sheriff. Now what can I be helping you both with today? Well... Joseph turned to you, locking eyes. You saw the slight wild panic of someone caught in a trap and looking for a way out. Do you protect this town? Sheriff looked miffed, unsure how to respond, like someone had just asked if the sky was blue. As much as anyone else who lives here, yes. What does that mean? I thought you were a lawman. Sheriff regarded you with some annoyance, still seemingly puzzled over what you were asking. I think I see the confusion here. I'm not a lawman. In fact, I'd say I'm not a man at all. Or a woman. Okay. Sheriff kept looking at you both, trying to gauge your reactions, whether you could be trusted, you guessed. My name is Sheriff. That is the moniker I've chosen, and I'd ask you kindly to refer to me as so, or not at all. Joseph tipped his hat politely. Not a problem, Sheriff. Do you run this town, then? That would also be a no. I'm a founder, you might say, but I don't solely run this town. You boys are asking some real strange questions. Is there something I ought to know? Joseph had faltered, and now you did too. This isn't what you just planned. You were just saying the first things that came to mind, fixing on Sheriff with a calm pair of eyes, but a shakiness in the knees. Maybe you'd hoped Sheriff would say something that would change things, change what you were both there for. Before you could fall over, Joseph placed a hand on your shoulder, and you tensed before he gave it a light squeeze, stepping in. That was gay. We heard from some other fellas in the trail that there were outlaws around, coming this way even. I see. Well, you boys shouldn't worry. We know how to take care of ourselves in clemency. We don't get trouble around here often, but we make sure to run 'em off before anything starts. So you've been here for a while, then? Yeah, ages. How'd you end up living here, anyhow? What's the story? You said you're some kind of founder? Don't get it twisted now. I'm not really a founder. Well, hard to explain. I used to be a marshal. Got sent here 30 years ago already? And you liked it so much you stayed. Joseph gave a little bellow of a laugh, but the sheriff's was more half-hearted. No, well, I wish I could say things back then were as good as they are now. Sheriff stood up, grabbing the cane by the desk that thumped softly as Sheriff started pacing a little through the small office, stretching stiff legs. You boys know this used to be a mining town, right? Of course. Well, I used to be a lawman of this mining town. Greenhorn out on their first assignment, trying to keep the peace here. What a joke. The miners had it out for each other. There was nothing but bad blood and gold fever. I learned all too well during that time what it looks like, gold fever in the eyes, and what people will do to satisfy it. That town was a constant powder keg, and I was only one marshal. Felt like there was nothing I could do. I felt like I needed to do more. I needed to do something to calm the place. I asked the marshals who sent me. They don't give me a hoot. If anything, they can tell me to keep hands off. Let them figure it out themselves. Shoot them if they step out of line. That never sat right with me. If there's something you should know about me, about how I conduct my business and take care of this town, it's that I care about justice. Real justice. Not the justice others suck up to, claim to care about. I learned very quickly that the law is not about real justice. Sheriff punctuated those words, said with such fire, with bangs of the cane on the floor. The law of the marshals is not, the justice I recognize. That's why I took on the name Sheriff. I wanted the name for myself. They didn't deserve it. Strange, I know. Thank the Lord, much good he's done me. That I met at least one like-minded in that town. Alright, so this is for sure gonna be a multiple part series. Uh, Not sure how many parts, but I've already been recording for like 40 minutes, and I'm definitely not going to be cutting out much since it's a visual novel. But I really like this, actually. Like, I'm like really invested in the story. Maybe it's just because they're gay and trans, but this is really interesting. I love this. And yeah, and again, one of the only visual novels I'll probably play on this channel, but the concept was just too good to pass up, to be honest. So, I will link the game in the description if you guys want to check it out. It's on itch.io, free. And just go support the creator. This is pretty great so far. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.